Section 12 of The Heart of the New Thought by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Common sense. If you are suffering from physical ills, ask yourself if it is not your own fault. There is scarcely one person in 100 who does not overeat or drink. I know an entire family who complain of gastric troubles, yet who keep the coffee pot continually on the range and drink large quantities of that beverage at least twice a day. No one can be well who does that. Almost every human ailment can be traced to foolish diet. Eat only 2 meals in 24 hours. If you are not engaged in active physical labor, make it 1 meal. Drink 2 or 3 or 4 quarts of milk at intervals during the day to supply good blood to the system. You will thrive upon it, and you will not miss the other 2 meals after the first week, and your ailments will gradually disappear. Meantime, if you are self-supporting, your bank account will increase. Think of the waste of money which goes into indigestible food. It is appalling when you consider it. Heaven speed the time when men and women find out how little money it requires to sustain the body in good health and keep the brain clear and the eye bright. The heavy drinker is today looked upon with pity and scorn. The time will come when the heavy eater will be similarly regarded. Once you find the delight of a simple diet, the benefit to body and mind and purse and life will assume new interest, and toil will be robbed of its drudgery, for it will cease to be a mere matter of toiling for a bare existence. Again, are you unhappy? Stop and ask yourself why. If you have a great sorrow, time will be your consoler, and there is an ennobling and enriching effect of sorrow well borne. It is the education of the soul. But if you are unhappy over petty worries and trials, you are wearing yourself to no avail. And if you are allowing small things to irritate and harass you and to spoil the beautiful days for you, take yourself in hand and change your ways. You can do it if you choose. It is pitiful to observe what sort of troubles most unhappy people are afflicted with. I have seen a beautiful young woman grow care-lined and faded just from imagining she was being slighted or neglected by her acquaintances. Someone nodded coldly to her. Another one spoke superciliously. A third failed to invite her. A fourth did not pay her a call, and so on. Always a grievance to relate until one is prepared to look sympathetic at the sight of her. And such petty grievances for this great good life to be marred by, and all the result of her own disposition. Had she chosen to look for appreciation and attention and goodwill, she would have found it everywhere. Then, about your temper. Is it flying loose over a trifle? Are you making yourself and everyone else wretched if a chair is out of place, or a meal a moment late, or some member of the family is tardy at dinner, or your shoestring is in a tangle, or your collar button mislaid? Do you go to pieces nervously if you are obliged to repeat a remark to someone who did not understand you? I have known a home to be ruined by just such infinitesimal annoyances. It is a habit, like the drug or alcohol habit, this irritability. All you need do is to stop it. Keep your voice from rising, and speak slowly and calmly. When you feel yourself giving way to it, realize how ridiculous and disagreeable you will be if you continue. What an unlovely and hideous old age you are preparing for yourself, and realize that a loose temper is a sign of vulgarity and lack of culture. Think of the value of each day of life, how much it means, and what possibilities of happiness and usefulness it contains if well spent. But if you stuff yourself like an anaconda, dwell on the small worries, and grow angry at the least trifle, you are committing as great and inexcusable a folly as if you flung your furniture and garments and food and fuel into the sea in a spirit of wanton cruelty. You are wasting life for nothing. Every sick, gloomy day you pass is a sin against life. Get health, be cheerful, keep calm. Clear your mind of every gloomy, selfish, angry, or revengeful thought. Allow no resentment or grudge toward man or fate to stay in your heart overnight. Wake in the morning with a blessing for every living thing on your lips and in your soul. Say to yourself, health, luck, usefulness, success are mine. I claim them. Keep thinking that thought, no matter what happens, just as you would put one foot before another if you had a mountain to climb. Keep on, and suddenly you will find you are on the heights, luck beside you. Whoever follows this recipe cannot fail of happiness, good fortune, and a useful life. But saying the words over once and then drifting back to anger, selfishness, revenge, and gloom will do no good. The words must be said over and over, and thought and lived when not said. End of section 12. Section 13 of The Heart of the New Thought by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Literature. The world is full of New Thought literature. It is helpful and inspiring to read. It is worth many dollars to anyone who will live its philosophy. I talked to a man who has been studying along these lines for some years. "Oh, I know all that philosophy," he said. "It is nothing new. I am perfectly familiar with it." Yet this man was continually allowing himself to grow angry over the least trifle. He was quick to see and speak of the faults in others. He was demanding more of those he associated with in the way of consideration and justice than he was willing to give, and he was untidy in his person and improvident in his use of money. Now, it is the merest waste of time for this man to read New Thought literature or practice deep breathing, since he will not put into daily and hourly practice what is taught by the new religion. He is like the Orthodox Christian who mumbles through the Lord's Prayer and then goes forth to do exactly as he would not be done by in business, social, and domestic life. Man is what he thinks. not what he says, reads, or hears. By persistent thinking, you can undo any condition which exists. You can free yourself from any chains, whether of poverty, sin, ill health, or unhappiness. If you have been thinking these thoughts half a lifetime, you must not expect to batter down the walls you have built in a week or a month or a year. You must work and wait, and grow discouraged and stumble and pick yourself up and go on again. You cannot in an hour gain control over a temper which you have let fly loose for 20 years, but you can control it eventually and learn to think of a burst of anger as a vulgarity like drunkenness or profanity, something you could not descend to. If you have allowed yourself to think despondent thoughts, and believe that poverty and sickness were your portion for years, it will take time to train your mind to more cheerful and hopeful ideas, but you can do it by repeated assertions and by reading and thinking and living the beautiful New Thought philosophy. End of section 13. Section 14 of The Heart of the New Thought by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Optimism. Not long ago, I read the following gloomy bit of pessimism from the pen of a man bright enough to know better than to add to the mental malaria of the world. He said, "Life is a hopeless battle in which we are foredoomed to defeat, and the prize for which we strive to have and to hold, what is it? A thing that is neither enjoyed while had, nor missed when lost. So worthless it is, so unsatisfying, so inadequate to purpose, so false to hope, and at its best so brief, that for consolation and compensation we set up fantastic feasts of an after-time in a better world, from which no confirming whisper has ever reached us out of the void. Heaven is a prophecy uttered by the lips of despair, but hell is an inference from history." This is morbid and unwholesome talk, which can do no human being any good to utter or listen to, but it can depress and discourage the weak and struggling souls who are striving to make the best of circumstances, and it can nerve to suicide the hand of some half-crazed being who needed only a word of encouragement and cheer to brace up and win the race. This is the unpardonable sin, to talk discouragingly to human souls hungering for hope. When the man without brains does it, he can be pardoned for knowing no better. When the man with brains does it, he should be ashamed to look his fellow mortals in the eyes. It is a sin 10 times deeper dyed than giving a stone to those who ask for bread. It is giving poison to those who plead for a cup of cold water. Fortunately, the remarks above quoted contain not one atom of truth. The writer may speak for himself, but he has no right to speak for others. It is all very well for a man who is marked with smallpox to say his face has not one unscarred inch on the surface of it, but he has no premises to stand upon when he says there is not a face in the world which is free from smallpox scars. Life is not a hopeless battle in which we are doomed to defeat. Life is a glorious privilege, and we can make anything we choose of it if we begin early and are in deep earnest and realize our own divine powers. Nothing can hinder us or stay us. We can do and be whatsoever we will. The price of life is not a thing which is neither enjoyed while had nor missed when lost. It is enjoyed by millions of souls today. This great price of life, I for one declare that for every day of misery in my existence, I have had a week of joy and happiness. For every hour of pain, I have had a day of pleasure. For every moment of worry, an hour of content. I cannot be the only soul so endowed with the appreciation of life. I know scores of happy people who enjoy the many delights of earth, and there are thousands whom I do not know. Of course, life is not missed when lost, because it is never lost. It is indestructible. Life ever was and ever will be. It is a continuous performance. It is not worthless to the wholesome, normal mind. It is full of interest and rich with opportunities for usefulness. When any man says his life is worthless, it is because he has eyes and sees not, and ears and hears not. It is his own fault, not the fault of God, fate, or accident. If every life seems at times unsatisfactory and inadequate, it is only due to the cry of the immortal soul longing for larger opportunities and fewer limitations. Neither is life false to hope. He who trusts the divine source of life shall find his hopes more than realized here upon earth. I but voice the knowledge of thousands of souls. When I make this assertion, I know whereof I speak. All that our dearest hopes desire will come to us if we believe in ourselves as rightful heirs to divine opulence, and work and think always on those lines. If no whisper has ever reached us out of the void, confirming our faith in immortality, then 1/3 of the seemingly intelligent and sane beings of our acquaintance must be fools or liars, for we have the assertion of fully this number that such whispers have come, besides the biblical statistics of numerous messages from the other realm. As it was in the beginning, is now, and shall be evermore, world without end. Amen. End of section 14. Section 15 of The Heart of the New Thought by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Preparation. Every day I hear middle-aged people bemoaning the fact that they were not given advantages or did not seize the opportunities for an education in early youth. They believe that their lives would be happier, better, and more useful had an education been obtained. Scarcely one of these people realizes that middle life is the school time for old age, and that just as important an opportunity is being missed or ignored day by day for the storing up of valuable knowledge, which will be of great importance in rendering old age endurable. Youth is the season to acquire knowledge. Middle life is the time to acquire wisdom. Old age is the season to enjoy both, but wisdom is far the more important of the two. By wisdom I mean the philosophy which enables us to control our tempers, curb our tendency to severe criticism, and cultivate our sympathies. The majority of people after 35 consider themselves privileged to be cross, irritable, critical, and severe, because they have lived longer than the young, because they have had more trials and disappointments, and because they believe they understand the world better. Those are excellent reasons why they should be patient, kind, broad, and sympathetic. The longer we live, the more we should realize the folly and vulgarity of ill temper, the cruelty of severe criticism, and the necessity for a broad-minded view of life, manners, morals, and customs. Unless we adapt ourselves to the changing habits of the world, unless we adopt some of the new ideas that are constantly coming to the front, we will find ourselves carping disagreeable and lonely old people as the years go by. The world will not stand still for us. Society will not wear the same clothes, or follow the same pleasures, or think the same thoughts when we are 80 that were prevalent when we were 30. We must keep moving with the world, or stand still and solitary. After 30, we must seize every hour and educate ourselves to grow into agreeable old age. It requires at least 20 years to become well educated in book and college lore. If we begin to study at 7, we are rarely through with all our common schools, seminaries, high schools, and colleges have to offer under a score of years. The education for old age needs fully as many years. We need to begin at 30 to be tolerant, patient, serene, trustful, sympathetic, and liberal. Then at 50 we may hope to have graduated with honors from life's school of wisdom, and to be prepared for another score or two of years of usefulness and enjoyment in the practice of these qualities. Instead of wasting our time in bemoaning the loss of early opportunities for obtaining an education, let us devote ourselves to the cultivation of wisdom, since that is free to all who possess self-control, will-power, faith, and perseverance. Begin today, at home. Be more tolerant of the faults of the other members of your household. Restrain your criticisms on the conduct of your neighbors. Try and realize the causes which led some people who have gone wrong to err. Look for the admirable qualities in every one you meet. Sympathize with the world. Be interested in progress. Be interested in the young. Keep in touch with each new generation, and do not allow yourself to grow old in thought or feeling. Educate yourself for a charming old age. There is no time to lose. End of section 15. Section 16 of The Heart of the New Thought by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Dividends. Our thoughts are shaping unmade spheres, and, like a blessing or a curse, they thunder down the formless years, and ring throughout the universe. The more we realize the tremendous responsibility of our mental emanations, the better for the world and ourselves. The sooner we teach little children what a mighty truth lies in the Bible phrase, "As a man thinketh, so is he," the better for future generations. If a man thinks sickness, poverty, and misfortune, he will meet them and claim them all eventually as his own. But he will not acknowledge the close relationship. He will deny his own children and declare they were sent to him by an evil fate. Walter Atkinson tells us that he who hates is an assassin. Every kindergarten and public school teacher ought to embody this idea in the daily lessons for children. It may not be possible to teach a child to love every neighbor as himself, for that is the most difficult of commandments to follow to the letter. But it is possible to eliminate hatred from a nature if we awaken sympathy for the object of dislike. That which we pity we cannot hate. The wonderful intelligence which set this superb system of worlds in action must have been inspired by love for all it created. So much grandeur and magnificence, so much perfection of detail, could only spring from love. Whatever is out of harmony in our little world has been caused by man's substituting hate and fear for love and faith. Every time we allow either hate or fear to dominate our minds, we disarrange the order of the universe and make trouble for humanity and ourselves. It may be a little late in reaching us, but it is sure to come back to the mind which sent forth the cause. Every time we entertain thoughts of love, sympathy, forgiveness, and faith, we add to the well-being of the world and create fortunate and successful conditions for ourselves. Those too may be late in coming to us, but they will come. Right thinking is not attained in a day or a week. We must train the mind to reject the brood of despondent, resentful, fearful, and prejudiced thoughts which approach it, and to invite and entertain cheerful, broad, and wholesome thoughts instead, just as we overcome false tones and cultivate musical ones in educating the voice for singing. When we once realize that by driving away pessimistic, angry, and bitter thoughts, we drive away sickness and misfortune to a great extent, and that by seeking the kinder and happier frame of mind, we seek at the same time success and health and good luck, we will find a new impetus in the control of our mental forces. For we all love to be paid for our worthy deeds, even while we believe in being good for goodness' sake only, and nothing in life is surer than this. Right thinking pays large dividends. Think success, prosperity, usefulness. It is much more profitable than thinking self-destruction or the effort at self-destruction, for that is an act which aims at an impossibility. You can destroy the body, but the you who suffers in mind and spirit will suffer still and live still. You will only change your location from one state to another. You did not make yourself. You cannot unmake yourself. You can merely put yourself among the spiritual tramps who hang about the earth's borders because they have not prepared a better place for themselves. Suicide is cheap, vulgar, and cowardly, because you have made a wreck of a portion of this life. Do not make a wreck of the next. Mend up your broken life here. Go along bravely and with sympathy and love in your heart, determined to help everybody you can and to better your condition as soon as possible. Men have done this after 50 and lived 30 good years to enjoy the results. Do not feel hurt by the people who slight you or who refer to your erring past. Be sorry for them. I would rather be a tender-hearted, reformed sinner than a hard-hearted model of good behavior. I would rather learn sympathy through sin than never learn it at all. There is nothing we cannot live down and rise above and overcome. There is nothing we cannot be in the way of nobility and worth. End of section 16.